Hare Krishna. So we'll discuss from chapter 2, verse 16. Na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satah upayorapi drishtontastvanayostattvadarshibhihi. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, that is the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So, who are the seers of truth? Prabhupada says in the purport that both impersonalists and personalists both have concluded the same. What have they concluded? That so in this verse there are two words. One is asat and the other is sat. Asat is non-real or non-existent, and sat is real or existent. So these are referring to matter. Matter is asat and spirit is sat. So here in the verse they are saying that matter or material body is, since it is asat, there is no endurance, which means that it doesn't remain for long, it is temporary. And the spirit, which is sat, is eternal without change. So matter is ever changing and temporary, and in that way it is non-existent, and spirit remains the same without change and is eternal. So Prabhupada in the second paragraph, the purport, he says that this is the beginning of instruction by Lord Krishna to the jivas, to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Bewildered by influence of ignorance. What is this ignorance? Ignorance is that I am this body. Because nobody really understands who am I. So Prabhupada is saying if this ignorance is removed, then actual spiritual knowledge can be realized. So what is the spiritual knowledge? That I am the soul, and since I am the soul, I am eternal servant of Krishna. I am part and parcel of Krishna, and so my eternal position is of being a servant of Krishna. Also, Prabhupada says one very nice statement: one can understand the nature of Supreme by a thorough study of oneself, seeing oneself as part and parcel of the Lord, or seeing oneself or seeing this relationship as one between the part and the whole. So we are part and the Supreme is the whole. So we can we can understand this relationship with the Supreme based on this relationship. So we are part and he is whole. So if we have something in small quantity, he will have it in large quantity. Right? And so and we can also understand that whatever is there in this material world is everything is there in him or in the spiritual world. Now all these conclusions can be derived by just thinking of by a thorough study of oneself. So if we can study ourselves completely, then we can understand how, if we are apart, then how will the whole be. Also in the Vedanta Sutra as well as in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations, Sat and Asat. So both are coming from the Lord. So this knowledge will also be realized. And that the Jiva is subordinate to the Supreme Lord as relationship between master and servant, teacher and taught. So this knowledge that I am the soul, Supreme Lord is the master, I am his eternal servant. Then if I can thoroughly understand myself, I can understand the Lord. And that the Lord is the origin of all Sat and Asat. All this knowledge can be revealed and realized by one whose ignorance is removed. So the big question is how will this ignorance be removed? So Prabhupada says, hence Lord is speaking Bhagavad Gita to remove this ignorance. And now he starts this discussion of this, this Atma Gnana. Now the process to remove this ignorance starts with verse 17. Avinashi tu tad viddhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasya na kaschit kartum arhati. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So clearly, two qualities are given here of the soul, that it is indestructible, it pervades the entire body, and it is also, third one, it is imperishable. Right, so Prabhupada in the purport, he says that this verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul. What is the real nature of the soul? The real nature of the soul, and and that is the current of the soul is spread all over the body. So current of the soul is spread all over the body, like the active principle of some medicine spreads all over the body. So the presence of the soul, or the symptom and proof of the presence of the soul, is the individual consciousness in that body, which is the current of the soul, which is spread all over the body. So this individual consciousness is called the current of the, which is coming out of the soul, and it is spread all over the body. And this is the symptom and proof of the individual soul. It is a symptom because any layman can understand that material body minus consciousness is a dead body. So that means that what was there before and is not there now is the soul, because consciousness is not there in a dead body. So, and it is also the proof, the symptom and the proof. And this individual consciousness is spread throughout one's body. So one person can know his pains and pleasures, but he cannot know of others. And then there is, of course, the supreme consciousness, who is aware of the pains and pleasures of all entities. And unlike some arguments, this consciousness cannot be revived. So once a person is dead, this consciousness cannot be revived by any amount of material administration. Else we could produce souls in the lab. So if somebody says that the soul is material, it's a very stupid argument, right? Then subsequently, Srila Prabhupada talks about the size of the soul, and he is referencing from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. And Balagra Shatabhagasya Shatada Kalpitasya Cha Bhago Jiva Savigneya Sa Chanantaya Anantyaya Kalpate. So it is a spiritual atom. Spirit is an atom which its size is smaller than those of material atoms, and it is 1/10,000 the tip of the hair, 1/10,000 part of the tip of the hair. Right, and Mundaka Upanishad further gives further definition of the soul, and it says, yes, it is atomic in size, and it can be perceived by perfect intelligence. Prabhupada actually elsewhere he talks about how one can understand that he is the soul by intelligence. And simple example, like in English or in any language, we say my hand, my head. Now if I were the body, then I should have said I hand, I head. Right? So my is referencing, is indicating that this hand belongs to somebody. Now who is this somebody? It must be somebody apart from the body, because hand is part of the body. So then it is the soul. So it can be perceived by perfect intelligence. Mundaka Upanishad also says that this soul is floating in 5 kinds of material air and is situated within the heart, and then it spreads its influence all over the body. And when the soul is purified from this contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. So the Hatha Yoga process is originally was directed towards removing this contamination or purifying the airs, right? Or actually the soul must be purified from the contamination of the airs, and that is the process of Hatha Yoga. So then the spiritual influence is exhibited, which we see when we see some self-realized soul. We see that there is an effulgence around him, and this is the removal of contamination and the spiritual influence being exhibited. Of course, for Bhakta Yogis, we are without even understanding all these complications of 5 kinds of air, etc. The same thing is achieved with Cheto Darpana Marjana, with the process of devotional service, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and so on. Now, if we ask a question, which is the most important organ in the body? Of course, some might say, okay, all organs, because even if one of the organs fail, then it will become very difficult to live. Yes, that's true. But without which one cannot survive. Now, brain can be considered as an important part of the body, but if even if brain dead, people will continue to survive. So it cannot be the most important part. So obviously, the answer is heart. Right now, many people, mostly the modern scientists, they don't understand what is the how is this heart pumping continuously. Now, if they look at this heart as a mechanical device. Now, if it is just a mechanical device, then first thing is it could have possibly been revived post it stops working. Um, but we don't see any mechanical device going on forever by itself. So, for example, if you have a cycle and you turn the wheel, then it just rotates and rotates and rotates, and after some time it stops. But however, if you again in between you again rotate, turn the wheel, then it will continue to turn. So, which means that unless there is an external energy which is being supplied, the cycle wheel cannot turn by itself continuously. So similarly, if the heart is a mechanical device, which it is, without a continuous supply of energy, it cannot just function. So, which is why the Mundaka Upanishad is saying that the soul is situated within the heart, and modern science also accepts saying that okay, the corpuscles which are carrying the oxygen from the lungs, they are important to the body, etc. But they can't understand where are these corpuscles getting energy. That the heart is the seat of all activities, because the soul is present and the soul is supplying this energy which is required for the heart to pump, and so that the blood can go all over the body and the body can function. So Prabhupada so very nicely and very simple logic explains, very convincing. Unless somebody is very adamant, they will not accept this. So Prabhupada says, so by modern science or Vedic knowledge, one has to accept the presence of the soul in the body. So Lord is started the Atmagnana and is established that the soul is present in the body and that we are that soul. Hare Krishna.